Hello and welcome to the training for the Pennsylvania Advocacy Day. I'm Jamie Sexton, Director of State Policy with the Immunodeficiency Foundation, one of over 30 patient and provider organizations that make up the Pennsylvania All Copays Count Coalition. We're really excited to have you joining us, and we look forward to your advocacy on March 16th in your state legislature. First up, a little bit of information about your legislature. The Pennsylvania General Assembly is a bicameral body consisting of two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. There are 203 members in your House of Representatives and 50 that serve in your Senate. Pennsylvania is one of 10 states that has a full-time legislature. Other states have a part-time legislature, which means that legislators in those states have other jobs in addition to their legislative duties. But in your state, legislating is members' full-time job. The legislature convenes for 2-year terms, and this term is split into 2 annual sessions. This means that 2022 is the second annual session of the 2021-2022 term. Let's also briefly discuss individuals in leadership positions as it relates to the legislative process in Pennsylvania. First, we have the Governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf. The governor is the head of the executive branch. All bills that pass through your state legislature go to the governor, who can sign the bill into law, allow it to become law without their signature, or veto it. The next person in a position of importance for your legislative process is Brian Cutler, who is the Speaker of the House. The Speaker is the highest ranking officer in the House of Representatives and is elected by the House members themselves. You elect your representatives, and the representatives elect who leads their chamber. Lastly, we have the Speaker's counterpart in the Senate, also called the Senate President Pro Tem, Jake Corman. As a matter of formality in Pennsylvania, the Lieutenant Governor is the Senate President, but in his absence, the Pro Tem serves as the leader of the Senate. Like the Speaker of the House, the Senate President presides over their respective chamber. They also oversee the appointment of committee members, assignment of bills, and progress of legislation through their chamber. As you can imagine, these individuals hold great power in the legislative process in your state. Now that we've given you just a little bit of information about your state's legislature, let's go over what you'll be discussing with legislators next week. Copay Assistance. Most patients with rare or chronic diseases are quite familiar with the concept. You need help accessing your high-cost treatments and sign up for a Copay Assistance program, either through a charity, nonprofit, or the manufacturer of your medication. Traditionally, that assistance amount has applied towards the patient's copays, as well as their deductibles or out-of-pocket maximums, helping them meet their out-of-pocket obligations for the year. Unfortunately, in the past 4 to 5 years, there's been a rise in the implementation by insurers of copay accumulator programs. These programs exclude the value of financial assistance distributed by third parties from counting towards the health plan's deductible or maximum out-of-pocket limit. Copay accumulator programs allow health insurers to take the benefit of copay assistance rather than passing it on to consumers as it was intended. These programs are harmful to patients because they deprive them of the value of the copay assistance. As a result of this deprivation, patients will ultimately be required to pay more out of pocket for their healthcare costs, and it will take them longer to reach their annual deductible and out-of-pocket limits than if the assistance initially counted towards the patient's copay requirement. These programs may force patients to switch or stop taking their treatment because they can't afford their out-of-pocket costs once their financial assistance has been exhausted. It's important to note that copay accumulator programs may disproportionately affect patients whose conditions are managed or treated by drugs and specialty formulary tiers that require greater cost sharing from the patient. Next week, you'll be advocating for legislation aimed at addressing this troublesome practice. Senate Bill 196 and House Bill 1664, simply put, require health insurers and pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, to count aid enrollees get through copay assistance programs toward their cost-sharing requirements. It's important to note that this legislation is simply attempting to codify the status quo, as assistance traditionally has counted towards patients' out-of-pocket obligations until a loophole was discovered in the form of copay accumulator programs. Patients with rare and chronic conditions face thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket costs each year just to stay healthy. And SB 196 and HB 1664 are about ensuring that all copays count so patients can continue using copay assistance to afford their treatments. 12 states have already passed legislation addressing this discriminatory practice, and we hope that with your help next week, we can make Pennsylvania lucky 13. So what are you going to be asking legislators to do next week? For the senators that you're meeting with, you're going to ask them to support Senate Bill 196, and the House members, you're going to ask them to support House Bill 1664. These bills, simply put, ensure that all copays count in Pennsylvania. You're also going to want to be educating on your specific chronic or rare disease. What are important points to make when you're meeting with legislators about these bills? You'll want to highlight the fact that copay assistance and its application to out-of-pocket requirements is often the difference between patients being able to access their medications and not. If you have a personal story about the importance of assistance, please share that. We also want to highlight the point that assistance traditionally has been applied to enrollees' out-of-pocket requirements, and that this legislation is simply attempting to close a loophole by codifying the status quo. These discriminatory programs allow insurers to benefit by requiring out-of-pocket cost requirements to be paid twice, instead of patients getting the financial relief of the copay assistance as intended. This is why we are advocating to ensure that all copays count in Pennsylvania. If you forget any of these points, don't worry. There are reference materials available in your participant portal for your reviewing before and during your legislative meetings. These will also be emailed to the elected representatives with whom you'll be meeting, so they will be able to reference them during your meetings as well. Now that we've touched on what you'll be discussing with legislators on March 16th, Rebecca Russ, IDF's Grassroots Advocacy Specialist, is going to give you some tips for effective advocacy for your day of action.
Great, thank you, Jamie. So yeah, now that Jamie has walked you through the information that you're going to be discussing, I'm going to give you some tips on effective advocacy to ensure that you're as successful as possible during your meetings on March 16th. So before the day of action, some things you should know before you go. So this is a nice little checklist to have as you're preparing for your meetings. So the first thing to do is watch the full Pennsylvania Virtual Advocacy Day training, which you are currently doing, which is great. So just make sure to watch the whole thing. And then additionally, this will be readily available to you leading up to the event. So please feel free to rewatch any of the portions if you might need a refresher on any of the information. Additionally, be sure to review your schedule of meetings on the online platform before the day of action. So you will receive an email from a staff member that includes information on how to view your schedule. So just be sure when you get that email to go ahead on the online platform, look at your schedule of meetings, and if there are any meetings that maybe you won't be able to attend or you have a conflict, please just let us know and we will try to adjust that meeting if possible. Just want to make sure you're able to attend all the meetings on your schedule. And then lastly, we really encourage you to connect with the other advocates in your meeting groups. So when you view your schedule of meetings, you'll see that you're accompanied by one or more other participants in those groups. So we tend to group people up in 2 or 3 so that everyone has a partner during these meetings. So we really encourage you to utilize the chat feature within the meeting portal, which you'll learn a little bit more about later, to just go ahead and say hello to your partner. This is a great opportunity to introduce yourself and learn a little bit more about each other, as well as potentially coordinate for your legislative meetings and maybe discuss who's going to speak during which meetings. All right, so March 16th is here. What should you be doing before each of your legislative meetings? The first thing to remember is make sure to join the virtual meetings 5 to 10 minutes early. This is just a really good rule of thumb we always recommend. Just gives everyone plenty of time to get ready for the meeting, make sure all your technology is in working order, and gives you time to talk to your partner or your group before the office joins. Additionally, during that time that you join the meeting early, this is a great opportunity to designate the call leader. So this is the person who is going to guide the conversation with the office and really lead that conversation. So as you're designating that call leader, identify who is the actual constituent of the official. Obviously, we want that constituent to have the opportunity to talk to the office directly. Also, as Jamie mentioned, consider personal experiences related to the issue. If anyone uses Copay Assistance or has themselves encountered a Copay accumulator program, be sure to share those experiences as you're talking to the offices. And then lastly, before each meeting, be sure to note the name of the legislator or the staff person that you're meeting with. It's just always good to go into each of your meetings knowing who's going to be on the other end of the screen. So during your legislative meetings, a lot of advocates find it helpful to have a little mental agenda of sorts to walk through as they are meeting with offices. So we've laid out some points for you here that will help guide the conversation as you're meeting with your officials. So it's always good to start off these legislative meetings with just some introductions. So clearly introduce the participants in the meeting. That's where that call leader is really going to come in and guide the conversation. And additionally, allow the individuals that you're meeting with to introduce themselves as well. Next, you can go ahead and dive right into the issue that you're advocating for. So Jamie gave great background on the issue as well as some talking points. So just be sure to have those handy as you're meeting with the offices. As Jamie said, those will be available in your online meeting portal, so very easy to have those open as you're speaking. And then additionally, be sure to share any personal experiences or stories that emphasize the importance of this issue. As we said, this really impacts the communities who are advocating today. So, by sharing your experiences or stories, that's really putting a face on the issue and showing how it's impacting real people. And then before you wrap up the call, be sure to clearly state what action you're asking the legislator to take. So in this case, it's going to be supporting the legislation to address Copay accumulator programs. So you just want to make sure when the call ends that the legislator in their office knows what you're asking them to do. And then as you wrap up your call, be sure to offer the Pennsylvania All Copays Count Coalition as a resource. So a lot of times offices may have questions or would like more information. So just be sure to offer the coalition as a resource, and we're happy to provide information as needed. And then last but not least, be sure to say thank you and just show your appreciation for their time. So following your legislative meetings, what should you be doing as you conclude your meetings on March 16th? So in your online portal, as you'll see when we do the walkthrough, you'll have access to the contact information of the staff and the members that you met with. So we ask that you use this contact information to send out the provided thank you letter to these offices. Not only are these thank you notes polite, but they also allow you to present the ask again and keeps the issue of copay accumulators at the top of their mind. And then also we ask that you help us do our follow-up as well by taking thorough notes about how your meetings went in your online portal. So, if they had any questions or requested any information, anything along those lines, be sure to include that. And just overall, let us know your impression of the meeting. Was it positive? Did they show interest in any specific points that you made? We would love to hear anything that you have to share about each of your meetings. And then just some general pointers for virtual meetings on the day of action. So prior to each call, make sure that your cell phone, laptop, or whatever technology you're using is in working order. Make sure you're in a quiet location and you have all your other electronics turned off, just so that there's no background noise during the meeting. Avoid multitasking and stay 100% focused on your meetings. As always, be courteous and speak clearly. And then last but not least, again, don't forget to say thank you. It's so important to show appreciation to these offices for them taking the time. And then one more thing we want everyone to remember as they're going through their meetings on March 16th is just to remember that your voice matters. So you have a tool that lobbyists just don't, which is your real personal stories and experiences. And essentially by sharing your experiences with policymakers like you will on March 16th, you are showing how these issues and policies and laws impact the lives of real people. A lot of times, legislators may not know that this is impacting constituents of theirs. So by bringing this to their attention, you're really putting a face on the issue. Additionally, when you share your story with your legislators and make your voice heard, you create a personal connection with those legislators, which in itself is a really great thing. It's great to have a connection with your legislators. But this can also encourage them to consider issues that they may not have been inclined to support in the past. So when you put a face on this issue and show that it's impacting, people in their district, they very well may support something that they may not have considered in the past. So that's another important thing. And then lastly, just remember that as a constituent and a voter, legislators have a vested interest in addressing your concerns. So really making your voice heard is just a great thing for everyone involved. So with that, we are going to introduce Lincoln Clapper, who is going to give you a great walkthrough of the online platform that you'll be using for the Day of Action. He'll show you how to access your schedule of meetings, how to get into each meeting as they occur, as well as some other information about contact information and thank you notes as well.
Hello, and welcome to the Advocacy Associates online schedules and logistics overview. This video will walk you through your online schedules for your virtual Hill Day, along with some other various features that you'll be using to navigate your way through your Capitol Hill schedule. Now, you will be receiving an email from our system at a to-be-determined date by your organization. So please verify with your organization when to expect the initial round of schedules. That email will come from advocacyday@advocacyassociates.com. That's highlighted here in green in this sample email. If you feel like you have not received that email from us on that to-be-determined date, please check your spam or junk folder, as it will more than likely be sitting there. If you do find it in that folder, please unmark it as spam, as this will be our main way of communicating with you moving forward throughout your event, and we want to make sure you're getting that correspondence. Now, in order to access your schedule, just click on the URL shown here in the upper right-hand corner. Once you click on that URL, it'll take you to the login page. That's where you will need your login credentials, which you can see here in the middle of that email, highlighted in red. Once you end up at that login page, simply input the email address that you've provided, along with the temporary password that was also provided in that initial email. From there, you'll be prompted to change that temporary password to your new password. So follow the directions in setting up your new password. Once you have completed that, click the send button and you will be logged into your schedule. Once you're logged in on this device, for whichever device you are logging in from, you will not be asked to log in again. You will remain logged in, similar to any app on your phone. Now, if for some reason you become logged out, or you try to access from another device, or you've forgotten your password, you can click on the Forgot Password link on the main login page, where you can then reset your password to log in. If you're still having issues getting into your portal, there will be a contact link for you to click on, found in that initial email that you will receive from us. So please visit support through this link if you have any issues at all. Now, once you're logged into your schedule, you're going to see a home dashboard that'll look very similar to this. All of your confirmed meetings will be displayed on the top part of your page with a time. Anything that is still pending will be listed as TBD. This just means we're still working on a time with that office. If you do see a meeting like that listed on your schedule, you will get a notification email from our system when those meetings do become confirmed. So you will be very much in the loop every step of the way leading up to the day of your event and throughout the day of your event. All times on your schedule will be displayed in the time zone you are located in. So this will automatically adjust based on your location. You will not need to do any time conversions to figure out what time your meetings are, because they will be displayed in the time zone you are physically located in. Now, in order to get the information for each meeting, you have to click on any part of that module there. From there, it will take you into that specific meeting dashboard, which will look similar to this. You'll see the time and date, again, listed at the top, who you're actually going to be speaking with in that office, whether it's the staffer, member of Congress, or both. If there has been a meeting lead assigned to your meeting by your organization, you will see that person's name listed here. There may be several names, so it could be more than one. If your organization has not assigned a meeting lead, there will be this area will be blank. Now, in order to access the video component of the meeting, click on that green Join Online Meeting button. Most, if not all, of your meetings will be taking place on the Zoom platform, so expect to engage with that software. However, there are a few offices that will use their own Teams or GoTo or WebEx, etc. Either way, just click on that Join Online Meeting button and you'll be launched into the meeting virtually. You also have an option to dial in. So for those of you who cannot access via video, you do have a dial in option and you'll be able to get that information in that area here. All of your talking points provided by your organization will be displayed in this module here, as well as all the documents will be uploaded into this module here. Simply click on each document. It'll download in a separate tab on your browser. It will not take you away from your schedule or close you out. You'll be able to navigate your documents, your schedule, and your Zoom platform all at the same time. The attendees section will list all the attendees who will be in that meeting with you. The gold star by that attendee's name indicates that that person is the meeting lead. You also may see some relevant contact information there, such as the company they work for, their email or phone number. It may not be displayed depending on your company's, your organization's privacy policy. You can also contact each other through our peer-to-peer chat function. So simply click on that blue chat bubble. You can send a direct message to another advocate through our system. If somebody does message you through this mechanism, you will get a notification about that from the system. The left-hand side is our report form area. The first one is the check-in feature. Simply click that button to indicate that you've checked in, as we'll be sending this attendance report to your organization after your event. Beneath that is the send thank you note option. This allows you to send a thank you email to the office after your meeting concludes. This is a pre-written script that's been crafted by your organization for you to utilize. Our system will automatically pull the staffer's email for who you met with as well. You can open this in one of two ways. Click that blue open email button at the top, which will then pull up whatever your native platform is on your device. So for example, I have Outlook on my computer. If I were to click that button, it would pull up an Outlook email for me. If you are using Gmail or Yahoo or something else web-based, you can copy this information with those 3 copy clipboard buttons beneath and paste it into that email client of your choice. Beneath that will be the meeting report form. These are specific feedback questions your organization would like you to answer. So please go through and answer those one by one for each meeting on your schedule. The take notes section is essentially a blank notepad. If you'd like to take freehand style notes, rather than using pen or paper or a Word document or a blank email draft, you can keep all of that right here in one place with the meeting notes option. It's optional, you don't need to utilize it, but again, it is an extra resource for you. Beneath that is an option to select whether the member of Congress attended or did not attend. This is really critical information for your organization's government affairs team, as we'll be sending this intel to them after the event as well. Again, just useful information in terms of backtracking and follow-up. So please mark one of those options at the conclusion of each meeting. Lastly, for you social media fans, you'll be able to access your Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn as well through the portal. You'll be prompted to log in. From there, you'll remain logged in for any successive time you attempt to get into any of those platforms. Once the meeting concludes, click on the Meetings tab in that upper left portion of your page. It'll take you back to the home page where you can then navigate your way to that next meeting on your schedule. The Legislators tab will take you to an area where you can view bios for everyone that you're meeting with, such as this. It'll also include links to their social media pages as well and their website if you'd like to explore those further. The Bills tab will highlight any relevant bills your organization wants you to be aware of for this event. If that bill has been voted on by that specific member of Congress, you'll see their vote history on the bottom of that bill as well. If your organization is not utilizing or tracking any bills for your event, this area will be blank. News will pull any relevant news articles that a member of Congress has been mentioned in. You can read about those online. And the committees tab will display all the committee assignments that member currently is serving on. The two more options on our top menu bar are the messages tab. That's where you can view those direct peer-to-peer messages between yourself and other advocates. The directory is a master directory of everyone in the event, so you can contact any attendee across our platform. And lastly is the support tab. So this is where you will go if you're having any issues at all, whether it's scheduling, technical, you can't make a meeting, really anything and everything support that you can think of. Go to the support tab. This will be the fastest and most efficient way to get that issue resolved. The More tab is basically a drop-down menu of all the content I've already reviewed, and you can see how that operates when you get into your schedule. Last slide here, just some relevant information and reminders to keep handy. Again, check your spam or junk folder if you feel like you haven't gotten that email from us on your to-be-determined date. Our domain is at advocacyassociates.com. Some of you may need that in your settings to unmark us as spam. We're asking everybody to call or get into that video portion of their meeting 10 minutes prior to the start time. This will really just allow you to touch base with the other attendees in your group, but also just to make sure everyone's present when the office joins. That way the meeting can start right on time. All times on your schedule, again, are shown in the local time zone you are in when viewing your schedule. So you do not need to do any time conversions. Your schedule will adjust accordingly based on your location. You will get a reminder email 1 hour prior to each meeting throughout the course of the day. This will include a link to your schedule in it and will really just help keep everybody on track across the various time zones. If an office doesn't join your meeting within 10 minutes past the start time, please contact us. There will be a help number in the support tab for you to call if there is a time-sensitive issue like that. Please recognize these meetings may go anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, so prepare your pitch and talking points accordingly. A great tip is to ask the office in the very beginning how much time they have, which will really steer you in the right direction. Any changes to your schedule the day of the event will be sent over email. So again, make sure you're checking that regularly throughout the course of the day. Make sure you're in an area with good Wi-Fi connection, as again, most, if not all of your meetings will have a video capability to them. Please mute your microphone whenever you are not speaking. And lastly, just know your audience. Ensure you have an appropriate background as you'll be speaking with both Republicans and Democrats throughout the course of this event. And that concludes the Advocacy Associates online schedules and logistics overview. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, Lincoln. That was a great walkthrough. So before we conclude the training, just want to mention that if anyone has questions of any kind, whether it be about the issue that you're advocating for, about advocacy in general, or about your online platform, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Both of our emails are listed here, and Jamie and I will be readily available as the day of action approaches and during the day of action as well to answer any questions that you may have about anything. So please just don't hesitate to reach out to us and we will be happy to help. And with that, thank you all for participating in the Pennsylvania Virtual Advocacy Day and good luck in your meetings.